know it. Break it, dancing, dancing, break it.
free to use it during the event, and then during the break, we're going to try to keep it as available as possible for the speakers. just because the breaks are pretty short. If you have any accessibility questions, you know, in the space, come find me. I'll get out. Yeah, my name is Gazelle, by the way. I'm actually taking Susanna's 200 class right now. Yeah, so I'm really excited to be here. And how are we doing? We're just getting a few things settled in. I think we want to fill in some seats. Is everyone comfortable so far? Yeah. Okay, good. Anything else to fill in? We good? Also, just another note, we want this to be a really warm community space, so we encourage human interaction, natural response, and don't feel like you're in a lecture hall or anything. So if you want to laugh, you want to cry, you want to pound your chest, I don't know. Okay. I think if everyone is good logistically, then we can go live. Yeah? Okay, great. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's beautiful session, Great Yoga Unlearning. And my name is Gazelle. And I'm going to be introducing Susanna to you, who's hosting. Oh. Some technical? Okay. Little jazz hands, a little. Oh, to make it cooler? Actually, that is a logistical question. I'll address that when I get out of here. Okay. Hello, everyone. Once again, my name is Gazelle. Welcome to the Great Yoga Unlearning at Kifi Studios. This space is so special to me personally. Amro is a good friend of mine who runs this space, and I'm so excited that we got to have Susanna to present here. We are going to have so many amazing speakers, and thank you for taking the time out of your day. So first of all, I want to introduce Susanna. Susanna's first yoga teacher training started in her backyard when she returned from studying in India, and an activist asked for yoga that she could support her work in. Today, she's trained over 25,000 students through her 200 and her 300 programs with the YTT, bringing your yoga off the mat and into real life for leadership and change. So thank you so much, and let's go ahead and welcome Susanna.
So I'd love to put this here for a moment. We'll just take a moment to begin. If you can bring your body to touch the earth, maybe your hands on your thighs, your feet on the floor, or anything that connects you to the earth. And take a deep breath in and exhale out. And we'll begin honoring the roots of yoga and your roots. So if you'd like, you can bring your hands together at your heart, and we'll chant a Shanti mantra. Deep inhale through your nose, full exhale, and inhale to chant. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Thank you. Welcoming yourself into this space, into this practice, into this moment. And when you're ready, you can bring your hands down, maybe looking around you, taking in form and color and shape wherever you are in the world, noticing what's around you, light and color and form, maybe the beings in your community, the beings in this space, in the room, and beyond. So I want to honor the land that we're on, the Tongva people and the Kiz people, the stewards of this land, and also the lineage of our ancestors that brings us these practices, these yoga practices here today. Your ancestors, our blood ancestors, land ancestors, lineage ancestors, spiritual ancestors. And remembering that we're always in relationship. Yoga is relationship, right? So we're always in relationship with one another and with the earth and the world. I do want to take a moment to acknowledge and honor the team, everyone who has been here from Amro, Keefe Studios, and I'm going to say people's names because it's important. I'm going to look at my notes to make sure I get everyone. Trish, Erin, Tuana, Juliana, Linda, Gazelle, Carrie Lou, Kailash, the whole team at Beverly Boy, and thank you for your care, your labor, and your commitment to this work. And then the speakers, everyone who you're going to get to hear from, right? Amazing people, like people who have changed my life by the way that they live, by the way that they practice, and each of you, like everyone who's here online, who's here. We have folks from all over the world, thousands of folks who, a day like today, we could be anywhere. We could be in the streets. We could be with our families, we could be with our friends, and we could be in the practice and all of that. And so just really taking a moment to honor you, and if you want to take a moment to put a hand on your heart, and bring into the space anyone who you want to be here with you. Community, beloveds, ancestors, people who need care and healing right now. Honoring them and yourself and the world that we're shaping. So what are we doing here? You can let your hand come down. We are exploring and practicing yoga for personal and social change, right? We are not practicing yoga in a way that ignores harm or the atrocities that are happening outside this room or outside the room that you're in. War, ICE, displacement, right? So often Western yoga ignores these things. But true yoga is actually dangerous to power. Power, not inner power, but power that is oppressive. Yoga is dangerous to diet culture. Yoga is dangerous to white supremacy. True, authentic yoga is dangerous to oppression, appropriation, right? It brings us back to that inner power that no one can give us, but no one can take away. And so we're here to explore that today, knowing that, even trauma-informed yoga just saying, okay, this space is going to be safe. Safe for who, right? Like safety is not enough if it's just in my body or our bodies. Safety is like, what if the conditions are unsafe? How do we practice and live in a way that creates the conditions for that? And so for those of you who are teachers, right, our role expands. And I'll invite you, if you'd like, to take a moment and just feel into that inner power a little bit. So in your bodies, wherever you are, and if you're online and you can do this, join me, kind of fold in, like let your power go down, like feel a little like less powerful in your body, and then expand. Like expand your body, expand your self all the way up and out into the, I have to figure out what to do with my clipboard, but you can expand. So expand your body in any way out to take up space. Nice. And then exhale and find your version of this. Like not folded in, not powerless, but not propping either, right? Noticing your breath as it feels in your body right in this moment, in your own quiet inner power. If you are not a yoga teacher or formally teaching, you are also welcome. You don't have to look a certain way, be able to touch your toes, be flexible, ever want to teach to be able to experience the full power and benefit that yoga has to offer. We'll take one more deep breath. Exhaling. And I want to remind us that in Yoga Sutra 2.31, it says all separation equals suffering, right? So all separation. So we're here to practice yoga as unity. Whatever takes you away or creates separation from you and yourself or you and others, that leads to suffering. But whatever brings us back to connect with ourselves and each other, brings us into unity. Another way of saying this in the Upanishads is Tattvam Asi. So you can look around you and maybe find something beautiful or something just interesting to look at. And then thou art that, right? You are that. You are that. You are that. And there's this contradiction of, well, how can I, in my unique inner personal way, express oneness, right? But each of us has our own way, our own flavor, our own like particular cosmic, soup of expressing oneness, right? So part of the beauty of a true yoga practice is it asks you to go back into yourself and come back home. So I hope we get to explore this today as we move into asking ourselves, what do we need to unlearn? What are we unlearning? What are you unlearning? And how are we going to live and apply and practice yoga for personal and social change? So we'll take a breath. We'll do a little practice. I'm just going to pause. So this is like real time. Anyone have a suggestion for what I can do with my clipboard when we're going to practice?
Put it behind your back.
Oh, yeah, I could put it behind my back. There, yeah. Well, yeah. So,
Yeah, do you want me to grab you a stool?
yeah, that would be amazing, if that works okay. Thank you so much. Oh, amazing. Okay. So if you'd like, in a moment I'll invite Harpinder up to join me. But I'd love to invite you, if you want, you can sit or stand or lie down, but we're going to take a moment to really feel our ancestors and our lineage. So if you'd like to stand, you can. You can stay seated. And then open your shoulders. feeling your body on the earth, feeling what holds you up, and maybe leaning forward just a little bit into what you're excited about, what you're leaning forward into, leaning back, left and right. And imagine as you send your energy up towards the sky that you can connect to the sun, the moon, the stars, and pull that in. Feel it come through and down to reach you on the earth and down into the earth. We honor and touch our land ancestors. And then opening your body wide to the side, any amount that feels good to you. So you can send your arms out or just feel the width of your body. Feeling your crew, right? Your people, your family, your friends, your community. Everyone who supports you and who you support. None of us are here alone. And then if you'd like, bringing your hands to your heart once more. Deep breath in and a full breath out. Connecting your small S self with the large S self, your unique expression of unity. And to this, we bow. Thank you. And then as you're ready, you can move back into your seat or wherever you would like on on your wherever you'd like to be. And I'm so excited to welcome Harpinder Mann to join me up here. Welcome.
Thank you. This is so delightful to be here.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, take a moment. It is such a joy to be here with you.
It is such a joy to be here with you. Thank you so much for inviting me to speak and to be here in community in this way.
Yeah. So you're a truth teller. You're a fiery, you're an author, you're a yoga teacher, you're a somatic practitioner, and so many things, right? Like many, many different worlds come together in Harpinder to meet us here today. And so I really am interested in if you could start by sharing how have you seen yoga being misappropriated, and why is this work so important to you?
Yes. So as you were leading us in that calling upon our ancestors, whenever I do that practice, most often I see my ancestors behind me. And I was raised with Sikhi, and with Sikhi there's this idea of Sant Sipahi, and Sant Sipahi is this saint warrior. And so I feel like the warrior's behind me and the warrior within me, but I also feel the saint. And so when you led that, I was like, oh, I feel that like power here. And being raised with Sikhi, it is about speaking truth. It is about fighting against oppression. It is about also being of service and like noticing when other folks don't have as much, how can we share? And so that's what I was raised with. I found my way to yoga, just anxiety and not really realizing how traumatized I was as a child by my dad in particular. Thank you, Dad. And so I was like, oh, like I was raised with Sikhi and like Bhakti yoga, like let me go to yoga to help with this really like existential crisis that I'm having. And so I find myself at a core power 13 years ago, and I walk in, I'm just like, oh, the insecurities that I have magnified. They have not been relieved, which is okay, right? Like, I do think yoga is also asking us to, like, self-inquire and to contemplate. And so sometimes if our insecurities increase, so what? Like, that's a part of it. You kind of have to sit and, like, look. However, with the core power, it was just like, oh my God, like, I don't have the right clothes. Like, oh, no one really, like, welcomed me in. Like, it just feels like, okay, now pay, and this is how membership is. And I was like, oh, I'm a broke college student. And so there was this, like, these disparities between what I would have perceived yoga to be. And Prashad Rangankar is one of my teachers and mentors, and I love him a lot. And every podcast, and I'm like, Prashad Rangankar. And I'm like, if he got $1 for every time I mentioned his name, he would have hundreds of dollars. He has a definition of yoga that I really attune to, and I have spoken about it in different ways, where yoga we can consider as this umbrella term. And then underneath yoga are the philosophies and the modalities that help us transform body and mind to realize that we're spiritual beings. I find in this appropriated yoga, it's like the focus is just on the physical and the body. We're forgetting that we can transform the mind. We're forgetting about our heart. We're forgetting that we're spiritual beings. We're forgetting that we're interconnected. And so I think it was just that sense of, like, I think about the sense of body, like, when something doesn't feel right, what's the warrior response to it, and then what's the saint response to it? And so for me, I kind of have to hold both, where I'm like, I want to fight here. And then I'm like, okay, but well, how would the saint respond? And so I personally have to balance the two, but it's also helpful being in spaces like this, where I'm like, no, people, they're on the same vibe. Like, y'all understand, like, what we're talking about with appropriated yoga. And there's just a sense of, like, what are we doing here? And I started working with a teacher one-on-one at it's like Ananda Yoga and the lineage of Parhamsa Yoga Ananda. And that was really like, oh, like, here's time to talk about things like death and what does it mean to live well. What's my purpose? Do I have a purpose? What's my dharma, right? Swaradharma. And just like the love I felt from the teacher was like, oh, is that what's missing from appropriated yoga? Is the love and the care missing? But there's so many things that kind of add to that. Like, there's so many things that, like the commodification, like the white supremacy, like the toxic fitness culture, colonialism. Like, there's so much that it's a reason, like, why kind of is the way it is.
And it's so ironic, because it actually is a practice that is here to create freedom, right? And create full and complete total liberation. And so it's such a neat trick that Western yoga has done of taking something that's like, oh, actually, it could create complete total liberation for us individually, and then for, like, the whole world, and then put it in this tiny little box where you need certain leggings or certain, like a mat, right? Or any, like, it's such a trick. And it's so heartbreaking. And I'm also thinking about, in hearing you talk, right, like, in our different ways we grew up with this lineage, right, and these practices. And it's not like it's like one clean line. It's not like we have the same lineage, right, or that people in the room are folks. There's so many ways. It's like I think of like a kitten playing with a ball of yarn. It's like the lineages are like that. And for people who are newer to this, or maybe like Harpinder, or like I've had many doorways into yoga, and one of them was an amazing YMCA, teacher, just like unassuming teacher in the back of a big gym room, where I could reconnect my mind, my body, and my heart, like who I really was. So if you enter through that doorway, I'm just thinking of folks there where they're like beginning to kind of make all the connections. Where do you think they could start? Like, where is a way in to unpacking all of what has happened to yoga in the West?
So many, like you're talking about, right, like different paths to yoga. And I think that's what also happens is we think like yoga is a monolith, or we think it's just one thing. Even the different like paths, the margas of yoga, the different lineages don't necessarily agree with one another on, say, what the ultimate goal might be. And so there's so many different ways in which we can come to yoga, whether it's study, whether it's like jnana yoga, whether it's like, I just really want to study the philosophy and the history, and that's my way into it. Maybe that's it. Maybe for others, it's like, I want to feel devoted to something. One of my other teachers talks about, Harshita talks about, like, do you feel like a nectar, like a juice of life? And sometimes I'm like, I feel so dry. Like, I feel just so like disconnected from that like nectar, that devotion. And so maybe that's your path. It's like you figure out what you're devoted to. I take so many trainings all the time. I'm just like addicted. It's maybe a problem. And I'm in a Vini yoga training and yoga therapy. And Chase Bossart, who leads it, last week was talking about, because I think it's important to find a teacher. Like, yoga has been transmitted through teachers. Of course, we need discernment. And so what he said is when you're looking for a teacher, have both eyes open. Always good advice. And then he said, once you have found your teacher, close one eye. And then I add to that, I'm like, and once you're really devoted to something kind of like higher power, it's like you can close both eyes and then connect to the heart and then connect to that like higher power, whatever that means for us. So I think there's so many different paths and ways into yoga that understanding like what is it that we're wanting or desiring or needing, like getting clear on that. And for some, it is, like it was for me, like I feel really anxious. I feel really confused on what the hell to do with my life. And that's why I was like, oh my God, I need someone to help me. Which led me on this like 14-year path now on this yoga journey. And I feel very grateful.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah, and I want to invite folks listening and like in the room, right, wherever you are, to think about that. Like, there's so many different paths. The path of action, like karma yoga, the path of devotion, bhakti, like Harpinder said, the Raja Yoga path, and so where are you at this time in your life in terms of what is that next right step? Because we don't have to have it all figured out. It's just the very next step, like kind of like driving. You can imagine, I don't know if anyone else feels like their life is like this, but like it's foggy and we don't really know where the path is going, but all you have to see is that next little bit and that next little bit. And for me, that is also what yoga gives, is this insight and this light, right, of finding the way. I also love that you shared about jnana yoga and the learning, right? Because I'm on the same path. I'm a student. I will always be a student and also a teacher. And I've been a teacher. I taught high school for like 15 years and have run yoga teacher trainings now for about a little over a decade. And you teach and have taught in some of those YTTs on appropriation and honoring the roots of yoga. And so what would you invite us, like, again, that next step, if beyond just, like, is there anything concrete? Like, if someone's going to go to a yoga class in a studio this week, right, what could they do to help them find a practice, one, that's, like, trauma-informed, or two, that's a bit more honoring of the roots of yoga? And if they can't find it, then what?
Yeah, I mean, this might be a time now I promote Tejal Yoga, who will be speaking next, who has an online studio. I am finding that with these conversations, and thank you for really spearheading the conversation around decolonizing yoga for so many years, is that now it's like there are lots of teachers and spaces where it's like very clear and loud, like what we stand for, right? I'm wearing a keffiyeh, like I'm very clearly like free Palestine, like stop the wars, like stop the genocides. And so I think it's like finding teachers or spaces that are very clear in their values. Like there's no kind of like hiding. It's not like we're very secular and it's just white walls. You're not going to know. Like it's a secret. It's all a secret. And it's like, yeah, find spaces that are very clear. So it's not like you've been there for months and all of a sudden they're talking about something wild and you're like, wait, what? And so I think that's important for me when I'm looking for any space. I'm a part of a West African dance team, which I love. It's amazing. And like when I first saw the teacher, I learned about her and then I went to the class. I was just like, yes. Like I could just feel everything settling in my system. I'm a somatic experiencing practitioner and I try to be as tuned as I can to like intuition, to the body signals that are happening. And it's like when I'm speaking to someone, when I'm in a space, like, what's my body trying to tell me right now? What's my intuition trying to tell me? Instead of like overriding it or being like, oh no, it's all fine. I'm like, no, talk to me. Let me know. Like, what are you picking up right now that might be a little strange or off? Yeah.
I love that. And so I'll invite us in, jumping right off what Harpinder said, to checking in with our bodies. What is your body telling you right now? And so we'll take a moment of practice. And I don't know, inviting like just a sense of your body, of your breath, noticing your inhale, your exhale. Feeling sensation of the air on your skin. Warmth or coolness. And allowing the wisdom that has been shared here to consolidate maybe into a feeling or an image or word or phrase. Something you're unlearning or something that you're learning. And when you're ready, I'll invite folks to blink open your eyes. And if you're watching online, maybe you can drop that word or phrase in the chat and let us know what you're learning, what you're unlearning. If you're in the room and anyone would like to share, I don't know if we have a mic that can run to anyone in the room for anything that you're learning or unlearning in this moment. Or a takeaway, or a question for Harpinder or I. All welcome. Yes.
I think unlearning and remembering that you don't have to take what you can get. Like, you don't have to take just what is available. There are other ways we can find and access information that feels more aligned and heart-centered.
So the comment was, Dejal said, you don't have to take what you can get. There are other ways to get what you're wanting that are more heart-centered.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah.
You may have the mics.
Yeah, of course.
The question or just whatever is happening? You're good. Okay. I think what I'm unlearning or being reminded of is that as a student, it's not necessary to just take what is available or what is given.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sometimes it's okay to seek outside of that and to use the resources that are outside of what is readily available and easy.
Yeah.
To explore more what is heart-centered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. If there's one more, if anyone wants to share, we can. Yeah. Is there anything from online? Grace, so is there anything that anyone put in the chat? Not yet. Okay. So folks watching at home, please feel free to drop any ahas or insights or takeaways. We'd love to hear from you, and we'll ask you again. So I want to thank you so much for being here, Harpinder, and for all the work that you do in the world. It's really, really powerful, and I'm just so grateful for you. Yeah,
Thank you,
thank
Susanna,
you.
for having me. Thank you, everybody.
Okay. So we'll take a moment to do a little practice. You'll notice this a lot in between each person. We get to hear from 5 wonderful speakers today. And in the transitions, I'll invite you back into your body again and again and again, right? So checking in with, once again, like if you fold in that part of you that feels maybe small or maybe like not as full, and touching in there, if there's a wound or a place where you feel not enough, and then bringing some care to it, expanding, lifting up, maybe placing a hand on your heart or on your belly, and feeling into, I am enough. I am enough, just as I am. Maybe placing your hands anywhere that feels tight or small, noticing if there's tightness in your neck or your head. I am doing enough, exactly as I am. And from this place of enoughness, we can be like a channel as yoga moves through you. Your essence, your path and practice of liberation can move through you, expand within you, taking up as much space as it needs to. And when you're ready, exhaling, be looking around the room for something that feels like it's shining in its brightness and its enoughness. Perhaps sunlight or a plant. And feeling that thing that's shining in its essence fill you up as well. And on your next exhale, letting that go. And coming back into the room. And I'm so excited to welcome our next speaker, Dil Patel. Welcome. Oh.
Hi.
Hi. I'm so grateful you could be here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful that we're close.
Yeah.
And near each other.
Yeah. Yeah,
such a
this
gift.
is amazing. And I will say, like, so many of the folks you're going to see today, we only met first online, right?
Yeah.
Like, we connected online because of the work that we both were doing in the world. And before we met in person, we felt like we were like
Friends.
we've been,
Colleagues,
connected
for sure. Close
for
colleagues.
so long.
Yeah.
And so it's just amazing to be able to be in the room and
Yeah.
to connect. And so I just want to say, right, you're a teacher and a leader of so many things, from Dil Yoga to ABCD Yogi, just so many spaces that you hold. But the thread that has woven throughout all of those spaces for me that you bring is unpacking perfectionism,
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah.
like looking at how we in yoga spaces, and I think Western yoga colonized the yoga, like what Harp talked about, is so obsessed with perfection. But you're like, wait, no, what are we even doing? We need to throw this out. And so from like all the workshops in the yoga teacher training that for now this will be our 7th year
Yeah, incredible.
that you're running.
Incredible.
And every time you teach, students are like,
Yeah.
oh. And so I just wanted to welcome you and ask a little bit about that. Like, what has been your pathway to unpacking perfectionism?
Well, that's a great question, and thanks for having me. Thanks for having me for 7 years in your teacher training. That's incredible. You have accomplished so much. I think the pathway to really wanting to talk about perfectionism, is that what we're talking about? For me, I think it came to me because of the way I wanted to live my life. And I realized that in the system and the structure that we live in, capitalism, late stage capitalism, I had to be someone at the day job, and then I couldn't bring the rest of myself in. And it's not uncommon, right?
No.
I was in corporate culture, but because I could kind of bounce that off of my experience growing up in an Indian Hindu household, being exposed to yoga and the practices, and then wanting to understand those practices better. Also being an activist, I realized I was not feeling fulfilled trying to fit the role. Trying to fit into the role that was being asked of me. It's not exactly code switching, but it felt like the idea behind code switching. Like, I can't bring parts of who I am into this space. It won't be welcome. It won't feel safe. It won't be congratulated. It won't be honored. And none of those things felt that safe to me. And when I looked at how I wanted to live my life, I realized, well, I guess I could take a leap and just teach yoga fully, like full time. So anyone who's ever done that, I'm putting it in air quotes because it's a whole different animal than a corporate day job. Teaching 25 to 30 classes a week, running around Brooklyn, Manhattan, trying to pay the bills, essentially. And even in doing that, I realized I still couldn't bring the whole self to the places I was teaching, which led me to create spaces and then talk about these issues and have critical conversations around the industry, which I recognized, yoga, although a spiritual practice that many hold near and dear, is also has been pigeonholed into the fitness industry and the wellness industry. So because of that, I realized there's a conversation here to be had around the navigation of yoga as a person who teaches, as a person who practices while living in this system, and what are the ways that we can have the conversation. One of the big ways that I started having the conversation was through the first season and the only season so far of the Yoga is Dead podcast. And that became a lot of the conversation that I brought into the specifics of the workshop around dismantling perfectionism and addressing perfectionism as it lives within white supremacy culture. And how it's counter to yoga and yoga philosophy.
Completely.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. I mean, it's an amazing podcast. If folks haven't listened to it, I would say all the references that you hear today, right, take an oracular approach. There may be something that touches you. There may be something you're like, I'm interested in that quote, that book, that name. Follow it. See where it takes you, right? This is Jnana Yoga, but oracularly exploring. And
Such a clear word.
Yeah, we use that word because, so in running a teacher training, right, which there's so, first of all, 200 hour, 300 hour, it's a colonized frame, right? Like, yoga is a lifelong practice. We could practice our whole, my teacher Shankarji always says, you think you know so much. When I have an aha, he's like, wait a few more lifetimes, right?
They're not wrong.
Yeah. So this is part of the perfectionism, is we put this depth, this wisdom that is beyond time, space, form, the universe, into these little categories, into mats, into boxes, into studios, even into teacher trainings, right? And so how could I, as a teacher of one, operate even within that contradiction? Because it is a contradiction, let's name it. We're all living and holding these tensions. And so here we are in a program that's 200 hours or 300 hours, and we're expected to teach at the end of that, right? Or even be able to embody yoga, you know? And so I think about how perfection and imperfection is so much a part of it. And one of the sort of decolonized frames is, instead of looking from a colonizer point of view, looking from a liberated point of view, right? Or from the inside the tradition point of view. And in that tradition, in the tradition, is everything we need. It's already within us. Is the idea that you're whole, you're perfect, you're complete, right? But at the same time, we're perfect. And yet we're operating within such imperfection. So I'm curious around, like, teachers, and I'm sure there's teachers online and in the room and practitioners of yoga. It's this inner tension between, like, I want to do more, I want to do better, I want to honor the roots of yoga, but how do I do this? Yeah. I don't know if I left you something to jump on there. But.
Absolutely. I think I've come to this. There's definitely more than a couple things I want to say, but what I would love to share is that it's not uncommon to want to do more, right? It's not uncommon to want to learn more, to show up in a way that feels really excellent and honors everything you've learned so far. And holding yourself to your own personal standard of excellence is wonderful sometimes. It can feel motivating. It can feel like I'm honoring my ancestors by doing this. Perfectionism is a different animal altogether. It's a mindset that prohibits action. It prohibits the showing up. It prohibits the attempt to do something. It prohibits the ability to say, oh, I tried that 9 times. Maybe the 10th time will be, when I get to evolve or show something differently with it. You never even get to the 10th attempt, right? Because you are stuck at the start. And perfectionism, then, I think it's put upon us, right? Because we're talking about what we learn over lifetimes. To be born in a human body is to already reach a level of enlightenment that other forms haven't achieved yet. So this idea that you know things and that you have innate wisdom, like, it's real. It's real. You've accumulated wisdom over lifetimes, and you're here. But you've also probably learned humility in knowing that there's so much more you're maybe going to learn or might never have access to learning. And that lays like a very open, curious groundwork to how to navigate life. But what's put upon us is all the other expectation, all the other mentalities of winning over losing, of doing things right over doing things wrong, of achievement versus whatever else, the opposite someone might tell you. Or, we can talk to so many nuances of elements of our identity and thread them back. Why are Asian Americans overachievers? Why are we pigeonholed as a model minority? Like, where do all these expectations come from? And how do they show up in the way we navigate the world? And honestly, the way we navigate systems, like systems of oppression. Sometimes it's armor, and sometimes it's an issue of survival in the space that you're in, an issue of safety. But what I hope to do with talking about it is exposing that there are so many roots to these systems and mindsets. And then checking in with self around the foundational beliefs. Because if we really slow down and dig into, like, what are those foundational beliefs, we might learn they're actually not that strong, right? And it's a whole house of cards. So if I can recognize this thing that I've believed for so long about myself, or this expectation that a caretaker gave me or that society put upon me for so long is actually not a core belief to my eternal soul self, maybe I can slowly start to move away from it and navigate differently. So the workshop is just a workshop, But if the student is ready, right?
Right.
The teachings will be revealed, the teacher will arrive, and this vice versa is true too. You know, when the teacher's ready, the students will show up and maybe ask the questions that really prod the nectar, the juice of what we want to learn. And I find that you set people up with the information they need to know about what they're going to get out of their teacher training, so that every time, all like 10 to 14 times we've done this workshop, it is that revelatory for folks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because sometimes it's just having the space, right? And so feeling, and I'll invite people into just a little practice, feeling the spaciousness within yourself for whatever is emerging, right? Like, for me, a lot of unpacking perfectionism is creating a little more space. If I'm feeling like boxed in, it's like, oh, I have so much room. There's so much available to me. And so as we move into closing, is there anything that you're unlearning now in yoga, or anything that you would want people to think about unlearning with perfectionism or just yoga in general?
Yeah. I think there's a couple things that I've really taken to heart in the journey. And with yoga in particular, I think it's important to consider how you feel about this statement, which is there's no wrong answer. And the complexity that that brings up, even when we talk about what we're so passionate about. Yoga is social justice. Let's not appropriate yoga. To really consider, like, well, if there's no wrong answer, what does that mean? And then I think the other side of that coin that I really take to heart is the yes and approach. So if someone comes to you, or you come to yourself, and you find yourself in the thinking, or you hear the way things should be done, or the way a pose should look or has to be to hit these markers, or, you know, one brief example, someone told me in a studio, you know, a student that was just looking for a yoga practice said to me, my roommate told me that if my heels aren't on the ground in downward facing dog, then I'm doing it wrong. And I thought, oh, okay. I said, yeah, and what if you do lift your heels and you bend your knees a little bit? Would that still feel like you're trying for the pose, or that you're getting the benefits of head below heart, below hips? And this idea that yes and, rather than shutting someone down, is the other side of that coin. So I feel like that's one big thing that allows me to stay really open in tough spots when we have these hard conversations around yoga. And the other thing that I put in my back pocket, and it just sits there, is from the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verse 40. And, you know, I don't know the Sanskrit off the top of my head because it's a long shlok, but the translation that I like to carry is that on this spiritual path, no gain is ever reversed and no effort is ever wasted. Only a little of this work can undo great suffering and harm.
Yes.
So I think about that as a way to say, if you feel like you have started the spiritual path, started walking the spiritual path, and then maybe you wake up and you're like, fuck, I haven't practiced in a month, or I've been such a, I'm sorry, I don't know why I want to swear, asshole to my family or whatever. I'm like, you know, you haven't lost everything you've learned.
Yeah.
Right? You're like, you haven't snuffed out all the light and all the learning. We go through seasons, we go through phases, we go through lifetimes so that we can bob and weave and come in and out, and then eventually, like, raise the curve, right, for ourselves. So give yourself the spaciousness and the hope that even just a little of this work can undo great suffering and harm.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dejal.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
We'll take a moment for folks to reflect, right? And in a moment, we'll have a break. But before we go on break, I'd love for you to maybe call to mind, is there a small thing that you're letting go, right? Like a thing that you are able to release in terms of those expectations, or something that you're bringing in. And to go on what Dil was saying around alignment, right? I think about it this way sometimes as you're processing, is like all of us, we're like inside kind of this core band of unwavering light, like through the Sushumna Nadi at the center, right? That's you, whole, perfect, energetic. And we can make a million choices, 1,000, 100 choices away from that integrity, but it just takes one to come back, right? To be right there. And so maybe what you're reflecting on is what can bring me even a little way back. It doesn't have to be all the way, but what am I coming back to? And so we'll pause and just see if anyone has any comments, any questions for us. We can open up the space if there's any questions in the room or online. If anyone has any inquiries or questions. Yeah. Yes. Hi, and please feel free to share your name.
I'm Kali Malika, and thank you for sharing that. I think that you bring up the word perfection, like, resonated so deeply with me, because I feel like it is the on-ramp to procrastination and so many other things, but even looking at it from the lens of now I don't do because it isn't perfect. And I think part of the thing that I've always struggled with yoga, and even putting work out online or in different public spaces, is it good enough? Is it ready? And if I make a mistake, or if this isn't right, and how much I haven't shared because of that song playing on repeat in that, that little critic voice. And I think that one of the things that I feel like I'm walking away from hearing what you guys are saying is this yes and getting away from the performance of yoga and yoga as part of a performance of who we are, or like an extension of dance or gymnastics or any of these other like competitive things, and getting back to it as just like a practice of being with oneself and being in community with other people. And I think like, what, in addition to the yes and concept, what are some other strategies do you think that we as teachers or leaders could share with people to help that become the through line in the messaging?
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing a lot of what you're saying, Colleen, right? I think one strategy that's really helpful is to share your journey. And also, there's another part of that, which is like, make sure your personal practice has integrated what you are offering. So I have another workshop and like a lot of education around, so you want to chant Om and Namaste. And it's like very much aligned with this idea of dismantling perfectionism in you and yoga. And so you want to chant Om and Namaste. A lot of people say, well, I have a lot of fear of overdoing it wrong, of doing it wrong. And you can apply that to anything. The workshop, saying words in Sanskrit, chanting, doing meditation during a 60-minute practice you're offering. And so I invite people to think about integrating it into their personal practice so that they can really feel grounded in the delivery and in the offering, because it's true, you're not just joining practice, you're leading, you're guiding. You want to make sure it's integrated for you and that it's embodied as best you can. And then once there, maybe it's the first time you lead people in an Om chant to close practice. Maybe it's the first time you don't close with Namaste, right? And once it's there, don't leave people in the dark. They're students, right? So it's an opportunity to say to them, you might have noticed, I'm on this journey. I've been doing some education, and I no longer use Namaste to close practice. I'll be here for 5 minutes after class if anyone wants to talk about it. Or this is going to be my first time offering a chant. My pronunciation might be off, but I'm still a student. Bear with me. Let's try it together. And just giving people the context a little bit, because you've practiced it, because you're comfortable, takes away that performance element, right? It brings people into the experience with you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much for those things. And this question, Kali?
Yes.
Yeah. We need you, right? We need you to teach. We need you to share yoga the way that only it can be transmitted through you. And we don't, let me say this, there's not a lot of time to waste, right? Every bit of the essence of what you have to share, and this is everyone, is going to move all of us, all the students who learn from you, however perfectly or imperfectly, all the people who are touched by the way you live and practice yoga, they need you. They really deeply need you. And so if there's anything you can do to like clear away the blocks, for me, even this morning, I was nervous, and maybe you could feel it a little at the beginning. I don't know. But I remind myself that nervousness comes from love, right? The love I have for the practice, the love I have for all of you, for the way that this is going to move in the world. And so coming back to your way of like, okay, I might not do it perfectly, but I love, and let that love, transmit and move. And then the last piece is just having a sense of humor. That helps me a lot with unpacking perfectionism. It's like, oh, okay, crow, maybe that's me face planting. Yeah. But inviting, in yoga, the practice is drishti, right? Like, what are we focusing on? And so, again, as we move into a little bit of a practice and then a break, we'll see if there's any more questions, so you can think of one if you want to. But I'll invite you to lift, actually, why don't we take, in honor of Kali, we'll take our hands up, and then fold down all of your fingers except for your pointer and thumb, if you would like. So, Kali Mudra. And this is a mudra that's very powerful, cultivates inner power. And so invitation to lift that up as much as you would like and follow the point of your fingers. So that's your drishti, your gaze, as you lift your hands above your head. Any amount, right? Any amount is wonderful. Connecting to that wish, that intention, the thing that you're here to share. And then exhale, following your fingers down as they come down once more, and letting your gaze rest at the tip of your fingers. And knowing that you do this for yourself, but you don't come here alone and you don't offer this out alone. And so keeping in mind everyone you're serving, you can have your hands come out and then follow your fingers, watching your pointer fingers, maybe your thumbs. And then if you'd like, unclasp your hands and open your hands wide now. As much as you'd like, out to the side and lifting them up. Like star, lifting up. And exhale, hands come together, gazing at the tips of your fingers, connecting in to that focal point, your drishti, and then release. Is there time for one more question, I think? Online. Yeah.
Okay. How can we bring liberated teachings through the colonized model?
How can we bring liberated teachings through the colonized model? I mean, this is the question, right? Yeah. Do you want to jump in, or you want me to?
Yeah. First of all, the colonized model is the model. I mean, it's the only model, really, right? Because none of us are removed from society, removed from the internet, removed from all of our data being taken every day. And we're using social media, whether we hate it or not, we're in there. We're using email. We're in the model. We're in the matrix. And I think it's important to know that, because from that standpoint, my offering is something my guru teacher said, which is like, you got to do the best you can. Like, do the best you can. And the context of him saying that to me was around the idea of using the word yogi. And he said, none of us are yogis. In the true sense of the word, none of us are yogis. And this man is an ascetic.
Probably a yogi.
Lived most of his life, 75% of his life, in ashram living, and then running teacher trainings in ashrams. His older brother's a swami. So they chose a path. And even so, he was not comfortable using that label. So for me, living in an ashram for a month in India, I don't get that honorific either. I don't get to walk out saying I'm a yogi now. And I often catch myself saying a person who teaches yoga for that reason. And I think it's kind of important to notice that, because I'm still a person who teaches yoga. Even though I cannot be a yogi, I would not choose that. So this is what I would share with people. Like, recognize that you're in the system, sit with that, move through that discomfort, whatever shows up for you, acknowledge any grief you have around that this is really put upon you. And then, like, literally do the best you can, incorporate your resources, have support to talk about it, to understand how to navigate it, and try to take the path of least harm.
Yeah.
Not non-harm, least harm.
Yeah. Ahimsa. I love this question. Thank you to who asked it. Yoga is not comfortable, right? It's not setting us up for a life of comfort. And by that I mean it actually asks us to look at Maya, at illusion. Yes, now we have the current frame of colonization. We all think we understand what that means, right? Perhaps we have a shared understanding. But even the yogis that, when we go back like generations, Indus Valley, Saraswati River Valley, it's not like they were free of structures that colonized or oppressed or conquered. There was patriarchy. There was Brahminical patriarchy. There was all forms of oppression and grief and loss, right? And so we're in this frame, this picture, and part of the practice is to see it clearly. Like everyone, Harp and Dil have both been saying, is like, how can we see clearly what we're up against? And I do think it's really important to name colonization, patriarchy, white supremacy, right? To say these things, heteronormativity, ableism, misogyny, right?
Racism.
Racism. To say these words as we're naming the Maya, the illusion, and then use our practice, like this is it, to tapas, that inner discipline, to burn off, right? The light of knowledge, the light of wisdom, the light of truth that's available to all of us to see through that. And we may not have complete, total liberation in this lifetime. I hope so for all of you and for us. But even if we move just a little bit closer, isn't that better, right? So perhaps it's not total, complete decolonization, but it's leaning back, right, on the roots, on the practices of our ancestors. This is why I wrote Embrace Yoga's Roots, right? Like, honestly, that book came from a cry in my soul that was like, there is so much more to this liberatory practice than we have been like taught to believe. And it is freedom and liberation for all that we're just like squandering. So how can we move, even in a colonized frame, a little bit towards liberation?
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. Obviously, your books are excellent guides, One thing I did want to bring into the conversation that I was thinking about on the way here is this idea that we started with, which is like, I want to do so much, I want to get it right, and I want to, only show up as my best self. And I was thinking about teacher Lama Rod Owen's book, Love and Rage. And there's this incredible section in there where someone is actually like denying them their teaching as they're teaching and being really combative about it. And when they left the teaching space, someone asked, how did you walk out of there regulated? How did you do that in a way that just felt okay? And Lama Rod Owen says, I have learned a lot of trial and error, a lot of study, a lot of practice to do only the work that is mine and not others' work.
Yeah.
So I think that's important. I know we don't need to go into it, but it's this idea of like, know yourself well enough to know what the capacity is, what the capability is, and be grounded in that so you can continue to act and continue to advocate.
This is why I love yoga, right? It's many paths, they take us out, but it actually takes us into yourself as a doorway. So on that note, we will close.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dil. Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
for being
such a
here.
pleasure and an honor.
Such a
Thank
pleasure.
you.
Such a joy. And we're going to move into a break. So before we do, I'll just invite folks to shake out your arms, your legs, like maybe, let it out, right? We've traveled through a lot of things. Appropriation, harm, colonization, liberation. Woo, make some noises. Maybe pat yourself, a little self-percussion. And we have a beautiful journey after the break into embodiment and liberation and joy and reclamation. So just know that there is an arc of this experience where I was just so grateful, and I'm so blessed to have had Harpinder speak and to have you, Dil, speak, and for everyone that is to come. So thank you. We'll take a little break, and we'll be back in about 15 minutes. Enjoy.
Thanks. Do you need anything?
Some more water, but I'll...
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Picky, picky, baby. Dancing, dancing, you know. Love it, hey. Picky, picky, chicky, eh. No, we know we pick it, eh. Dancing, dancing, pick it. Picky, picky, baby. Dancing, dancing, you know. Love it, hey. Picky, picky, chicky, eh. No, we know we pick it, eh. Dancing, dancing, pick it. And everybody let me hear you say.
communities and our siblings that we may know, and even the siblings we don't know. And so we're going to move into a conversation in a moment with Ariel Atoria. And I invite you to hold this tension, right, of safety and belonging, and how we can create more safety, more belonging for ourselves and our siblings. So when you're ready, you can ground yourself, and I'll welcome you up to the stage. And welcome.
Hi. These are never cute to get on.
I know, it's hard.
It's never cute to get on those.
I'm so happy to be here with you.
I'm so happy to be here with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You are a poet, a yoga teacher, and just like a movement teacher, an actress.
Yeah.
So many things. And I know from conversations we've had that belonging and welcoming in these spaces has not always been easy for you. And so I wanted to open with just talking about that, right?
Yeah.
Like, what does it mean to come into a space, whether it's a movement space or a yoga space or any space where we're bringing all of ourselves. And for some of us, we can't hide, right, that all. Sometimes we can code switch like we talked about before, but sometimes we can't. My aunties and uncles, they're now, so I want to name Lakshmi Devi Barkataki, my grandmother, and then Maya Bhomik and Pritishri Barkataki. They want to practice yoga. But do you know, they said to me, I'm too old. I can't go to a yoga studio wearing a sari, wearing a form. People will laugh. And so I'm just holding, right, the people from whom this practice comes, and that it's like black and brown folks, these liberatory practices, we don't get centered.
Right.
And so I'm just wondering, like...
The irony.
Yeah, the irony. Like your way into this work and how you hold all of this.
Yeah. That's such a beautiful question. I was reflecting a lot about it over the last few days of like why we even have to have the conversations around who belongs and who doesn't belong when all things and all entities it should be structured for all people to belong. And it wasn't until we start getting into, no, you only belong over there, or that group of people only belongs in this corner, or that group of entities only belong over there, that we started to get into the conversation of where belonging takes place in the first place. And so I think that is something that in our conversation, or even just in general, how do we get back to that? The fact that all spaces are meant to be for all people to belong. And especially within, Los Angeles, the yoga culture, I'm like thinking about your aunties. I'm like, yes, they should be able to walk in with a sari. Yeah. If someone can walk in with booty shorts, you can walk in with a sari. I don't understand why we don't have space for all of it. And some of the conversations in my own unlearning and undoing have been reclaiming the idea of it all belongs, right? So if my faith looks a little different and I'm moving my body in a yoga way, all of it belongs. And so the same thing I would like to be about this, all of it belongs, that there doesn't have to be this separation of what it looks like, but you get into studio culture and you get into all the spaces. And I fell in love with a hot studio, unfortunately, that's just where I fell in love with the practice, and did my teaching training, which is how I got familiar with you, and you were a huge core of our learnings and our teachings. And then I didn't know how to be in a studio space after learning the things I learned, let alone being like, I'm going to be a teacher right now. That was not it. I felt like I was like, I feel like I know nothing now, even though I just spent that whole 200 hours, learning things. Now I feel like I need to figure out what this looks like for my own practice first. And then I started noticing I am the biggest person, in this hot yoga class. I am the biggest person going to these events, these influencer events for active wear, and I'm the curviest person there. And so I really wanted to make it, if I did start teaching, that I wanted it for people who felt like they couldn't just walk into a hot studio, you know? And so I would do these I partnered with a plus size consignment store, and I worked specifically with them of like holding space for women, for non-binary people, for whoever was like, I don't feel like I belong there. So can I go somewhere else? And I hate that we have to create these side spaces for belonging. Yeah. But I think that is just hopefully the way forward, right? And not the only way. Yeah.
I want to ask you something about that if you're open to it. It's the vulnerable part, right? Because when we walk into a space and we are like the curviest or the biggest or the least flexible or the brownest or whatever it is, for me, I've had to face that internalized or injected, really, oppression, that feeling. Because for so long, I actually felt like, I'm not flexible, I'm really short, you know. Who am I to teach yoga, right? And so I had to overcome those things. Like the fact that no studio would hire me to teach when I came back from training in India, you know, for living there for years and learning, no one would hire me, right? And so yes, it was the external, but it was also the internal things that we had to overcome. And so for folks here, right, like when you think about the spaces, movement spaces or wellness spaces or yoga spaces or people at home, who is there? Who is left out, right? And what can we do to change that? And so I wanted, if you're willing to share, like that inner, the inner work that had to happen.
I mean, the inner work is that's the daily work, right? Like that's the continuous work. I took a hot power fusion this morning, and I was the only one using a strap because that little bow situation, I need the strap, you know, and just getting through that part of it. But then at the end of the day, you're reminded, this is my practice, this is my body. This is my movement. I get to do it in the collective, and that's really beautiful, and I love that opportunity. But at the end of the day, this is my body, this is my practice, this is my movement. And how it feels for me is what matters, you know? And so getting over myself, I guess, a little bit of having to be, and the irony of being certified and not feeling like you can't do all the metamorphoses with your body, it's hard. Like, and I still have those things where I'm like, I'm not, the hips be hipping, and there's some shapes that are really hard to still get into. And I've been practicing yoga for 10 plus years at this point. But again, adjusting to just learning to soften and to find grace. If I can hold grace in a space for other people, then I can extend that for myself. If I'm letting people come in, and I try to always offer, when I do teach, it's like, you know your body better than anyone else. So I am not your teacher, actually. I'm just a guide. I'm just a voice offering options for you to decide whether or not that works for you. And if it doesn't serve, skip it, move on to something else, you know. There's been a few classes, you know, where you experience teachers where we're like, in child's pose, so we're all in child's pose, and it's like, not me, I'm not in child's pose right now. I might be doing something, I'm probably laying down at this point because I'm tired, you know. And just giving people the grace and space to be where they need to be. But I think that inner dialogue is always kind of gonna be there, you know. It was there for me this morning, even leading into this conversation, where I was like, I haven't taught in a while, can I offer anything in this space, you know? And just getting over those things as best as possible, and moving through those perfectionism that I'm always like, even when you first started sharing, I'm like, well, whose fear is this? Whose guidelines are these? And more than often, they're not the ones we're actually setting for ourselves. They're just these trickle downs of other people shooting on us, you know, and really learning to like release that. First and foremost, is this even my thing that I'm trying to reconcile with? And if it's not, I can put this down, you know.
Thank you so much for sharing that. It's like, I think it's also so helpful for students or for other people to see, you know, there was one teacher training at 300 a few years ago where I broke my wrist. Like, there I was about to teach, and a whole training, like 6 months, no use of my wrist, right? And it's like, well, that is the practice.
Yes, yes.
Right? Like,
yes.
And even just like, okay, child's pose, and move the flesh out of the way, right? Like if move, like not everyone is going to experience a pose the same way, or a shape the same way, or even a yogic concept the same way.
Right.
And so I love what you said, and I just want to kind of like spiritually highlight that around for folks to think about your way of inviting people in to their own unique experience, with us being the guide, right? But you're the true teacher, back to that wisdom within.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go somewhere a little, like maybe edgy.
Great. Yes.
Maybe. We have come a certain way, right, around diversity and inclusion in yoga spaces, even though we're not even supposed to say those things anymore. It's but that wasn't even enough. And so when we have like the one scholarship spot, or you know, the one, right, like you said, you're in an activewear space and you're the curvy person, you're like, wait, why am I the only one here? And so as you think about, before you thought about those spaces that you're in, and maybe even the spaces you create, who's missing, who's there, right? Like, how is it actually, like, can you move from just diversity and inclusion? Because there can be some harm, right, with diversity and inclusion if we're not moving further. So I'm curious if you have any stories or any experiences or suggestions, and this is part of that unlearning.
Yeah, or I think one of the questions too was just the idea of why the diversity, or diverse, that's become a dirty word, even that, DI and all of those things we can't say. And I come back again to it all belongs, right? These spaces are meant to be spaces where, yes, someone who might need to work from a chair can be able to come into the space. Someone, I had a student in my class where she did have to stand for most of it. She couldn't do a whole lot of touching of the toes or leaning fully forward, and we figured out how to make space for that. And I think the biggest misconception is that we come into a space where you have different bodies, you have different backgrounds, you have different people, and the flow, if you will, is the same. So that creates the assumption that it's going to look the same, that it's going to show up the same, but we're not actually acknowledging that how you forward fold and how you forward fold and how you forward fold is going to be a very different process throughout the room. And so I think having the mindset of when we come into those spaces, that the diversity is going to be there, because we are a diverse group of people. And it's almost silly sometimes where you're like, even if a person, same height, same whatever, there's not going to be the same response to things. And I think we for some reason, there's just this very blanketed assumption that it's going to look the same way, and that it's going to be the same way. Even me as a curvy body, and someone else is in another curvy body who maybe has never done yoga before, is going to show up in the shape. So then I have moments where I'm like, oh, I might actually be a little bit more flexible, and then it's like, let's help you get to that point too. And so I think having the assumption that we are all these multifaceted, multicolored people showing up into a space, and that we don't have this one size fits all, literally, figuratively, spiritually, mindset when it comes to how we show up. And that's just, I don't think that's just in yoga spaces. I think that's just in spaces in general. And that we allow the full spectrum of what it means to be human, and that's even more so highlighted in spaces where people's bodies are approached, where people's, I mean, I have been in classes where people are crying in a pigeon, like it's a very intimate work. And I think our intention and our mindset behind how we show up in the space needs to be just as intimate.
Thank you so much for that. I want to do a little experiment, just because you got me thinking about the differences in our bodies, right? So if you're willing, you don't have to do this, but if you would like, touch your fingers to your shoulders and then lift your elbows up above your head. And then just look around, and for folks online, you can kind of look at us. Like, notice the difference, right? Like, some of our elbows are way above our head. Some of our elbows are, like, down below our head. And think about if we're all in, say, tripod headstand, or if we're just doing a shape, right? The difference.
Yeah.
And then exhale, bring your hands down beside you and reach towards the seat. Does anyone's hands, oh my gosh, some of you, your hands are way past the seat, right? My hands barely touch. And so if I'm trying to push up, and like swing my body back and forth, well, guess what? I need to bring the floor up to me. Whereas some of you, you're going to be like up in space,
Yes. Yes.
And so sometimes it's like becoming aware that it's literally anatomy, right? It's actually our bones, our physicality. And then we translate that to identity, ancestry, heritage, right? Like trauma history, all of these things that change what is available to each person. So thank you so much.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. So is there anything that you are unlearning right now in yoga, in movement, in this world and work, or anything you think you want to invite us to unlearn? Either way.
Sure. I think I'm constantly unlearning. I don't often refer to it as unlearning, call it unfolding a lot of times. And I had a season in my own life where there was just a lot of undoing, a lot of unfolding, a lot of just stripping myself of the things that felt like it wasn't where I was going. I think yoga really helped me open up that world for myself. I grew up really evangelical. I'm a Baptist pastor's kid, so there's a lot of unlearning to do, and getting back into the space of even now, my practice looks and feels so different as I'm reaching the middle of my 30s, and I'm noticing my body is moving in ways where I'm like, I feel like I got into that a little differently when I was 27, and I'm not 27 anymore, And so just unlearning that life and that I have to look a certain way. There's this movie I watched recently, and they mentioned this poem quote, and it was like, do I contradict myself? Very well, then I contain multitudes. So I'm unlearning that I have to be a certain way and stay a certain way, that I get to contain multitudes as a human, as an artist, as a yoga practitioner, and also sometimes a holding space for whatever that looks like for people, that I can kind of shapeshift if I want and I need to. My grandma recently passed away, and she wore a lot of wigs. And I put in a poem, that she shapeshifted just for the plot. Just wanted to change things up. And so I've been calling her in that space of just like letting myself grow and shapeshift and not have to look a certain way. And maybe one day it feels right to show up in my body in one way, and then the next day it may not. And I'm allowed to allow that to unfold as I would unfold.
What's your grandma's name?
Her name's Claudette. Claudette Smith, Pinky, if you knew her.
Honoring her and that wisdom of shape-shifting, and allowing the different eras and expressions of ourselves to unfold.
Yeah.
Thank you. So as we're exploring belonging, right, and who's welcomed in and who's left out, I want to challenge us to also think about, like, who's up here, right? And how different that is this whole day than maybe what's in, even if not your space, your studios in your city. Why? Why is this? And how deep that is, that the practices that came from our ancestors, right, and your ancestors, like the folk practices, these wisdom practices, are not represented in the bodies and the people that they've come from. And when we don't see people like us doing things that make us well, how can we ever envision ourselves as well, healthy, and whole? And so what I said to Kali, I'll bring back, right? We need you. We need you. We need you. Like, we need all of you. Sharing, whether you ever formally teach or not, whether you're an artist, you're just living your life, caring for your people, you're an activist in the streets, all of it is so important, I think, for moving towards belonging in the ways that we do.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. And we'll take a moment. I'll take a little sip of water if you're at home or you want to here. Please hydrate. It's a little warm in this room in LA. I know it's not that way everywhere around the world, so I'm very grateful and also warm. Oh, thank you. Want some more? Yeah, I would love some more water. Okay. All right. I think I want to do this transition like this. Beautiful. So at home, if you'd like to do this, you're more than welcome wherever you are, as long as you're not driving or... But if it's safe for you, I'll invite us, and in the room you can sit or stand. We're going to take up some space. So really like expanding, feeling into your body, stretching out. I always think of this as like star, taking your place amongst the stars. And then if you'd like, clasping one hand around one wrist and stretching to the side. And then inhale, switching sides. Back up to star. And then on your next exhale, releasing anything that gets in the way of your joy. Let it out. Whew. Shake it out. Maybe bouncing, wiggling. Yeah. And if there's any other movements you want to do, maybe a little dance, yeah. We'll come back into our seats, and I'll welcome Hala to join me up here. Welcome, Hala. Nice. So happy to be here with you.
I'm so happy to be here too.
Yes. I feel like it's been such a journey that has brought us to be here together.
Yes.
Yeah.
It has been.
Yeah. And where I want to go. Okay. So, Hala, you've been a movement teacher. You're a somatics practitioner. You're a therapist. There's so many ways that your work weaves. And I met you years ago in a yoga class, right? Yeah. And you invited me in to a practice. And so I just want to begin by saying, this practice, you felt to me like someone who really embodies, even from that first class, embodies liberation, embodies presence, embodies joy. And so I just want to invite you to share what brought you, how that journey has unfolded.
Oh my, I'll try to give you the short version. Well, I always say that, I come from Beirut, Lebanon, and so my roots are in trauma and beauty, right? Lebanon is all over social media right now. And we moved to the United States when I was 3, but I feel like ever since I was a child, I've been on this journey, essentially to figure out how people can heal their trauma so they stop fighting. So simple, whether it was my parents fighting or my region. And I've always been really curious about what, I didn't have the word liberation. I didn't, the vocabulary sort of caught up with me later. But first I thought psychology. Let's just figure out how people work. And then I went to college, and psychology wasn't teaching me how people worked. I was like, what's happening, I was learning more about how people worked in my religion classes, because religion, I think, is a way that we think about how we cope with suffering and mortality, and it's impacted by the socio-political context we're in. And I was learning more about it being a fitness instructor. Because I was in the gym, people tend to talk to me, they tend to feel comfortable. So we're talking, they're moving their bodies, emotions are coming up. I didn't realize what was happening as I was learning about the mind-body connection, right? And then when I found yoga, it started to feel like something that could allow us to do that exploration. So through learning yoga and teaching yoga and studying somatics, you know, I think my little girl is feeling equipped, although things aren't that much better.
No. No. And your practice, even while facing the really challenging things that you're naming, right? War, displacement, being an immigrant, violence, which we're facing again, you know, again and again and again, has always felt like I don't think it's despite those things, maybe even because of them, there's joy.
Yeah.
And so I want to invite you to share a little bit about like the joyful body. Like how do you feel and where do you get to? Yes.
I love that I get to talk about joy. I don't talk about trauma. Well, I want to name that there was a time where I thought I was tapping into joy, but it was spiritual bypass.
Yes.
And it was like everything happens for a reason. I'm going to like surround it with white light. I don't have to ever feel my feelings, and I'll just eat a lot of chocolate at night, right? And so I have always seemed joyful, but it wasn't really grounded. And I went through my own journey of having to confront mortality and death and darkness to feel like I am now at a place where joy includes all of that. I heard a really great talk on joy the other day by Rob Bell. He was a former minister who left the church, and he said that joy can include our grief. Joy is when you go into the grief and you come out to the other side. And he said cynicism is lazy because it sits outside all the bad stuff and just judges it. And I loved that. I loved that. And, you know, I remember when I was in my 20s, I went to Peru and I met this elder woman, and she was a nurse, and she'd nursed children who were dying, and she'd seen so much death, and she was so light. And I thought, I want to be like Mama Kia. What is that? And now I feel like I'm there. I have had, somebody die in my arms. I have dealt with people that are very ill. My family is displaced. But I am like, I feel like I'm beginning to embrace a level of joy that doesn't make me have to cut off from the world. And I do think a lot about my culture. I mean, you go to Lebanon, it's all about the good food and the music. There's a lot of dissociation. I am not going to idealize it. People are also chain smoking cigarettes, right? But there's a lot of pain and trauma. But part of how we as a culture respond is by amping up the joy, right? So it is also a response because the joy lets us hold that pain. I think I'm still kind of a newbie at really experiencing joy. I didn't see it a lot growing up in like a really authentic way, but I feel like my nervous system can handle the grief and the pain. And I've had now enough lived experience. We have my 1-year-old nephew just had open heart surgery, and even in the midst of seeing him connected to machines, we have moments to laugh. We have moments to, I've sat by people dying, and then you're cracking up for a second, right? So because my life experience has given me that opportunity, and I have found that the people in my life that have experienced oftentimes the most trauma can experience the most joy. That the trauma lets our hearts break open in a really beautiful way. Not that we all want trauma.
No.
There's enough necessary trauma, and when I think about justice work, it's about getting rid of the unnecessary trauma, because we're going to have death and illness and loss. That's part of life, right?
Yeah, and this is what yoga invites us to sit with. But I want to ask your nephew, what's his name? Kais. How's he doing?
He's good today. He got off all the machines, so we could see his little face, and he smiled today. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, well, sending a lot of healing energy to Kais.
Thank you.
And all those who need it.
Thank you.
You know, it made me think, Hala, when you were sharing, one of the origin stories of yoga as a teaching that has come to us is a conversation with the Lord of Death, Lord Yama, right? The whole of yoga history. And when we're looking, remember, inside, outside, from inside, this is not just like 5,000 years, 10,000 years, like hundreds of thousands of years. And having almost like death sitting on your shoulder, right? Like, what is the next right thing? And there's a way that you can't have but be joyful when you're like, oh yeah, it's all, it's like this, right? Like everything we have to share is so necessary. The way you exactly live, practice, sing, right? Create, do your art, your healing. It's so needed. Yeah. And there is a beauty and a joy in that.
Yeah, and I think that out of the joy comes our capacity to imagine what's better, right?
Yes.
So many of us in the space are activists, and we want to get free, and we're so critical of these systems, but do we even know what that feels like in our bodies? Like, do we know how to sustain it? I know that's, as a therapist, one thing I have learned is the hardest thing for people is not to heal their trauma, it's actually to trust the good feelings, to stay in the good.
Yeah.
That's harder. So how do we get to practice that? Like, I think about the practice of joy as a necessary practice for our liberation, because we actually have to learn how to tolerate that in our bodies.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And trust it.
Raising the capacity.
Yeah.
I want to name Adrienne Marie Brown, right, who speaks so much and has written a number of books from emergent strategy to, what's that?
Oh, I was saying pleasure activism.
Yes, to pleasure activism, and this idea of joy is liberatory.
Yeah.
And so sometimes in these spaces, and particularly when we're like movement, yoga, I know we've named some issues, but we're also like, let's celebrate, let's enjoy, let's be in our bodies, let's eat, dance, sing, cry, like all together. And so I'd love for you to guide us in a practice, an embodiment practice, if you would like. Anything that you're doing that connects you to your embodiment. And joy.
Sure. All right. Well, if folks want to stand up, sometimes I can be nice. And take a stance that feels grounding for you, so maybe taking your feet a little bit wide. And maybe shifting the weight side to side. And I'm thinking a lot about the conversation you just had with Ariel about, like, we all have bodies that are unique. We all experience and express joy in a unique way. And so I want you to just be feeling in your own nervous system what feels good. Susanna just got us shaking a little bit. So I'm going to explore a little bit of round movements. So I'm going to invite you to just like swivel your hips a little bit side to side and just shift your weight. The way I learned this was like you're holding the groceries and you're closing the car door. And you're closing the, then you look so cute. Close the car door. Close the car door. Right? Some reason in this I'm like wearing tiny shorts too. And just like see what feels playful. Like, how often do we play? Like I play with when I'm with my little nephews, but otherwise I just feel like super awkward, right? And so like play with this gesture. Like, are you like closing the car door from the back? Are you just like pushing a front and back behind you? Like play with it, be silly. Nobody else is on camera, I think, except for me, embarrassing myself in front of everybody. So just playing in our bodies, right? Some new shapes. What else could this gesture mean? Maybe you're like, oh, something's on top of me, and but I'm like looking so cute when I'm doing that thing, So just playing. And just seeing what your body might want to express. Notice if you have a perfectionist that's like, oh God, am I doing the joy right? Like, is it right? Or like, I'm the only one who can't do it right. Everybody else is doing it. Like, notice that, right? Yeah, let's shake it out a little bit. Whew. Try to maybe look a little weird, a little funny. And sometimes it's just about disrupting those shapes, right? Like even the yoga practice is so perfect all the time. Even my dance moves are always like so cute, right? Like, can we disrupt those? And then what's it like to take up a little more space and like maybe weave it through each other? So we're still respecting each other's personal spaces, but like, ooh, explore the spaces in between and behind you. I had no idea what I was going to do for this, by the way. I was like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to do a joy thing. Ooh. Notice your breath and your sensations. Notice if you're performing or you're letting yourself have an experience. And don't judge it if you're like, I'm totally performing because I don't know how to have joy. Awesome. Just be honest about it. And then you can start to maybe explore making this a little smaller. Like, let's make it yours so that how might these movements, this spontaneity, just like live in your nervous system a little bit? What part of your body is needing that little bit more spaciousness or permission? Is it your hips? Is it your shoulders? Is it your jaw? And sometimes the work is just about disrupting the pattern. It's not about like getting it right, just changing what the pattern is. Susanna, do you want me to keep going? I think she's doing a costume.
One more minute.
Costume
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, who wants to give us a movement? Somebody. Let's play. Let's play off of each other.
What is this one called? Front stroke?
Ooh, front stroke. All right. Oopsies. And then see what this gesture, what else emerges. So maybe we're swimming and then, ooh, watch your back. What else emerges from your body? Don't tweak anything. What else emerges? Yeah. Ooh. And then maybe you kind of get a cool idea from somebody around you and you're like, oh, that was cool. Let's do that. Mm-hmm. Who else wants to give us a movement? We got the front stroke.
Crystal ball.
Oh, crystal ball. And then we got two. Okay, so we got crystal ball. Oh, I like this.
Threw it at each other.
Oh, yeah. I like this. What do we see?
I feel like I did this in high school.
Yeah. And, you know, when we tap into this joy, you know, we're always imagining some future. We're always looking into a crystal ball, right? But if we get, like, really attached to our narrative, like, shit's bad, like, what if we could imagine something different, just playing that energy when it feels safe to, right? I liked what you did. Then we also had this one that, I'm exaggerating it. You did it really cute, but I'm making it a little dorkier. Just a little dorkier. Mm-hmm. I always talk about going salsa dancing one night, and on the dance floor there was this one woman. She was a perfect salsa dancer, right? Perfect. And then there was this one guy, did not know how to salsa dance. He was having so much fun, and he was what I was watching. So I always say, like, just be like the dorky guy on the dance floor, right? Like, what does that mean? What does that mean, right? All right, so now we'll go back and just kind of make it a little smaller.
Why does this make us yawn?
Ooh, because the yawning can be the nervous system settling. Now I'm going to yawn because you said that to me, right? Yawn, making sound, all that. Mm-hmm. Now we're all going to... Yawning is contagious. She just said the word yawn. Yeah. And then go ahead and place one hand on your heart, one hand on your solar plexus, and feel in your own body if there was a particular movement, maybe it was like a little shoulder thing or a little hip thing that you can do anytime. It's like your own little secret joy practice. And remember, y'all, we have to celebrate along the way.
Yes.
That is our fuel. And that's going to keep us from taking each other down. That's the worst part of not having joy, because then I got to be mad at everybody. I'm committed, right? So just feel in your own body if anything got sparked. And then just take a deep breath and give it a sound.
Thank you so much, Hala.
Thank you.
Yay.
Should I go?
No, you can stay. You can stay. We're going to take some questions or thoughts or inquiries. I know we have a question from our folks joining us online, globally. And then if anyone has any questions in the room, we have time for probably a couple. So, yeah, please.
So our question from the live chat is, how do you pick the path of yoga that is aligned to you?
How do you pick the path of yoga that is aligned to you? Yeah. Oh, gosh. I love this question. In a way, the delineations are illusions. So I just want to say that first for folks who are, and we can use the pathways to help us guide us to our truth, but then let go, right? Let go of the pathway. So they intertwine. So if I think we're referring back to like jnana yoga, the yoga of the mind and inquiry and study, or bhakti yoga, the yoga of devotion and the heart and art and music and dance and, letting go of this world to connect to the divine. Or the yoga of karma yoga, activism, action in the world. Folks right now are out in the streets, right, protesting, demanding for a better world than what we have. So it doesn't have to be either or. And I'll just share with a little story. So when I mentioned I had many doorways to yoga. You could think of your doorways. There may be one, there may be many as well for you. And when I say yoga, I mean yoga as liberation, right? Like this path of self, other, oneness. And one of those doorways, I was little baby Susanna. I just graduated from UC Berkeley with a degree in philosophy. I thought I was the least BS major I could have picked. No, I think it might be the most BS major, but that's a whole other story. Moved back to LA, was living with my parents, quarter life, right? Like, who am I? What am I doing? What am I going to do with my life? I went to my old high school, which is not far from here. Dorsey High is like right over there, right? My school was in Reseda, Cleveland High School. And I went there just as an information interview, like, what is it like to be a teacher, you know? And they threw me into a classroom and said, I just went to find out information, but they're like, no, you teach. And I realized very quickly, because I got hired, they needed teachers at that time, that I wasn't just teaching English or history. I was teaching empowerment, right? Power, and then the illusion of power, the American dream, the American nightmare, right? And how students could find more power for themselves, given the situation. Doorway of Yana, right? A Yana yoga practice. I had to practice. I was so nervous going in to teach. And again, I'm teaching high school, but really, is it English history or is it power and empowerment, disempowerment, power, right, and empowerment? And so I practiced every morning, meditation, yoga nidra, and then I'd get home and do an asana practice to like clear off the day so I could get ready and teach again. The second Iraq war happened. And I'm in my first year as a teacher. My students wanted to protest. I wanted to protest. Our administration said, you students are not allowed to protest. I was like, this is not right. And so I supported them, even though I was like, I might get fired, right? And it was like, how can I walk this path of, I want to go to the meditation center, right? Be in deep meditation, but I also want to be in the streets, like folks here today. Some of you, maybe you went to a protest and now you're listening in. Folks here, right? We all have different paths, and they can intersect and intertwine. There's not one right way. And so really checking in with, back to that inner alignment, and you might feel it in your body, right? Like I'll invite you to feel the Sushumna Nadi, that line of light up to the sky, down through you, kind of close to your spine, down into the earth. And what are you called to? Are you called to the streets? Are you called to art? Are you called to music? Are you called to study? Are you called to community? Right? There is no wrong path. All of the paths that you might take are yours, and they can intertwine. Do you want to add anything?
No, that was beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you for that question. And I do want to say, if you're like considering a path, just take it, right? Jump. You can always correct. You can always course correct. There's no harm as long as you're not, back to what Dejo was saying, and doing as least harm as possible. Take the path. Take the leap. I went back to school this year, right, as a student, even though I was like, I'm too busy. How am I going to do all the things? But I can do it imperfectly. It's okay. You don't have to do it perfectly. Any questions from the room? We're good. Okay. I just want to say thank you so much for bringing your joy, your depth, your heart, and all that you do.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll pause a moment. We'll change out water, invitation to drink some water of your own, tea, or whatever you have. And I know we've been on this arc, right? Like harm, oppression, appropriation, honoring the roots of yoga, who's included, who's left out. And so I would love to invite you just to reflect, like on this arc, moving now into radical joy. And how can pleasure and joy not be separate from your practice? So even if just like 5% more, right now, maybe there's something you could do, maybe a little massage on your shoulders, or how can you bring yourself a little more ease, a little more pleasure, a little more joy in this moment? Okay. I'm very excited to bring up our last guest, and that is Marley Ray. Come on up. We're so happy to have you here today.
Hey, hi. Hi. Hello.
Welcome.
Hi, beautiful.
Oh, hi.
Oh. Yeah, you look great, girl.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You too.
Yeah. Very good.
Yeah. Yes. And this is part of it, right? It's like santosha, one of the niyamas, adornment, beauty, pleasure, right? And the things that, like, it could be anything. Could be tending a garden.
Yeah.
Could be putting on, like, you know, a princess salwar kameez. Any of the things that make us feel, like, connected to our souls, our hearts.
Yes.
And so you're someone who does so much. Like, your practice is, when I feel you, Marley, what I feel is like love for community. You're working tirelessly in LA for all the work that you do with the fires that we experienced earlier in 2025 and all of the things ongoing. And so your work for me is like, it's love, it's joy, it's community.
Oh, thank you.
And I'm so happy that you could be here.
Thank you for saying that. I'm really happy to be here as well. And, you know, the work happens in the present moment. And so you show up, like how you were just mentioning. You show up for the call. And then one day you turn around and you're like, oh, I did that.
Yes.
And it's so important to show up. I had that moment today, and I was thinking about a younger me traveling and going to South Africa. I studied at the University of Cape Town. And I remember feeling so nervous to go. That was my first time traveling. Now I caught the bug, you know, going to South Africa. And I remember being so nervous to get there, to go, to do the thing, to get the vaccinations and the, you know, all that kind of stuff. And now that was 10 years ago, and I was just looking back on photos 10 years later, and I looked at that younger woman, and I said, girl, I'm so happy that you took that jump. And then I thought to myself, wow, I could be feeling the opposite right now.
Yeah.
You know, I could be feeling the, dang, I wish I went.
Yes.
You know, so it happens in the present. It happens in the moment.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love this. So I want to bring us in this connection between like joy and pleasure, right? And honoring ourselves in our path, like taking that leap, taking whatever the trip is or the pathway, could be a training, could be anything, right? And connection to community, right? So this awareness of caring for ourselves and how we also care in the world.
Yeah.
Because so much of what you do is engaged in the world.
Yeah, you know, community is unity.
Yeah.
That is the essence of it. People need people, and if we are moving in silos, then we're not moving in reality. A lot of times people say things like evolution, right? And this used to irritate me so bad. Thank God for yoga, because there's a few things that used to irritate me that don't irritate me as much now. But people used to always say, you know, I've evolved. I've evolved. And I'm like, well, you can't evolve unless the species around you, the organisms around you are evolving with you. That's what evolution is when a collective group of organisms get better together. And so that is community.
Yes.
And it happens when you step onto your mat. I tell all of my students that yoga is an individual practice, but as soon as you come into this room, this is now a collective team. This is a community. We are moving, we're breathing together, we're syncing, you know, we're here, we're in the present moment at the same time, doing the same thing. That is unity. And so if we can take that off of the mat and into the world, that breath to movement, okay, inhale, reach up, exhale, give somebody a hug, you know what I mean? When you practice that off the mat, you'll see just how beautiful life really can be.
Yeah, thank you. Would you share any stories, any particular moments of you and the work that you've done, the community, like, because we're getting into seva, right? Like, when we're looking at our individual selves, we each, and you've seen this in every single speaker today, and maybe even in, like, following my work, if you've seen me over the years or if you knew, we express our unique gifts in totally different ways, right? And so much of the work is about that expression, exactly like Marley said, of lifting up others. And so I'd love for you to share like a story or a moment of seva, of service in the world.
Wow. Okay. So the story that is coming to me is actually at the very beginning of when I first started teaching yoga. And I taught in a very corporate space. And many times I was the only person of color inside of these rooms. Still to this day, but I've created a community that I like to see a reflection of the world. And I'm very proud of that. But at that time, that was, I think, is what sparked that in me. It's like, oh no, I don't see myself in these spaces. And I've always been so committed to being authentic in any space that I go. And it's through yoga that I don't question my intentions at all anymore. Any place that I am, I feel like I have purpose. And it's been through this practice because it started then. When I was the only black person or just person of color, period, inside of my teacher training, inside of my classes, inside of the classes that I taught. And I said, you know what, I am going to continue to just show up as myself and my vibe will attract my tribe, you know? And so that's what I did. And this one day, there was this African man who came into my class, and I think that he played football or something. I worked at USC, and he was this football player, and he came in, and you could tell that, first of all, he was the only man in a room full of women. He was the only black man in the room full of people. And he just, you could tell his body language felt awkward. You know, he was like, am I really in the right place? And I didn't know this man was going to come, and you never know who's going to come to your classes. And I'm playing my playlist. I really connect to people through music. That's really my love language. And I was playing my playlist, and my Afro beats came on, and you hear, it was at the time when you remember that song, it's like, Joanna, Joanna. Everybody do it now, you know what I mean? So that song came on, and his whole being changed. I mean, he smiled, he sat up straighter, he was like in it. And I said, wow, that is the importance of representation, one, but that's the importance of just feeling seen, of feeling like I'm connecting to something right now. Even in moments where I feel uncomfortable or awkward, there's that little song, or there's that one person in the class, or whatever it may be, that brought him joy in that moment. And he was like, oh, that's my song, you know? And so to this day, that was like a confirmation for me to continue down that path. And from the corporate space, then we went on to create the nonprofit and, you know, continue to walk in my authenticity from here.
Yes. Oh, thank you so much for sharing that story. And it's like all of us, right? We could be the song. We could be the reminder to someone else of their wholeness, of their truth, of the way that only they can show up in their embodiment.
Absolutely. And I think, so we're all in teacher training here, is that?
Not everyone is in teacher training, but I will say, I want to just actually, speaking of teacher training, so don't forget your thought. Because I remember going to a retreat and getting a POC scholarship and being the only person of color. And then having, in this meditation retreat, the teacher who was white say, and the first teachers who brought yoga and meditation to the West and named white teachers. Mm-hmm. And we're in silence for 10 days.
Susanna, what did you do?
I couldn't talk. So I sat there, have a very expressive face.
Okay.
If you had been there, I don't know what you would have thought. But my face was like, I practiced. What could I do? It was in silence. But I felt this deep not belonging, right? And so part of the work that I do in teacher trainings, and like the spaces that you're creating, is like, let's see each other. Let's not just be one queer person or 2 trans people or 3 people of color. Let's be like a riot of us, a party of us, and so we can have caucus spaces even, like in a teacher training where we can go and be like, oh, look at all these amazing, beautiful folks of color who are like me, but also different. And we can learn from each other, right? Yeah. So I think there's something so profound about seeing and being seen and opening that door for ourselves and others.
Have to.
Yeah, what were you going to say?
Yeah.
No, the folks here are like, just whoever chose to be here, and thank you so much for choosing to be here, in person, online. Yeah.
I was just going to say, for anybody who is interested in being a teacher or holding spaces of yoga or spaces of healing, is that you're not going to be the teacher for everybody.
Yes.
And I think that's also something that I had to really, come to terms with.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that you should stop being who you are in that. I think that the number one thing you should always think of as a teacher is safety. And as long as you are prioritizing your students' safety first, and I mean spiritually, I mean physically, I mean verbally, I mean everything, safety first for your students, then be who you are. Be who you are. And I think that the right students will find you through that.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Marley. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I would love to, as we come to a close, ask you if there's anything you're unlearning, or also you can share if there's anything you want people to unlearn about joy, about pleasure, about presence in this journey.
I've been thinking about this actually a lot. And something that I am unlearning and that I want others to also unlearn is don't wait for the symptom to do something about it. There's the Yoga Sutras, chapter 2 says, Heyam Dukkam Anagatam. Future suffering must be avoided. So do the work now as a salutogenesis before you get to the pathogenesis, before you get into the system, because then it's just nothing but bills and more stress. Okay? Do something about your health now while you feel good. Wake up the next day and feel better. So don't wait. Yeah. And I think that's something I'm also unlearning as well.
I love that. And it's like, even if we don't feel good, right? Like, I'm thinking about folks who might have chronic pain or disability is a spectrum. And it is also a privilege. If we're in a time and a moment where we do feel good or able-bodied, and we live long enough, we're lucky to live long enough, we're not going to always be able-bodied, right? So how can we... One of my teachers used to talk about the non-toothache, right? Be aware, even in the dis-ease, of all the things we aren't suffering from.
Perspective. And it's in the body, it's in the mind, it's in the spirit. I know anybody felt your gut. It's like, something doesn't feel right. Don't wait for that feeling to get stronger for you to make a choice, a decision. We each, every single day that we get to wake up and take a breath, we've been given another choice. Given another choice. And so when you feel that feeling, make the choice that feels right for you. Don't let it get too loud, because that's how we get out of control.
Yes.
And future suffering must be avoided.
Yes. Thank you so much, Marley.
Oh, thank you.
I want to invite any, we can clap if you want. I heard a little, if you don't mind hanging out for a minute.
Please. Drink my water.
Yeah, please. Any questions based on where we've been flowing, what we're sharing about, anything that's arising for you? And as you reflect on your own, like, I love that. You're not going to be the teacher for everyone, right? But how can you be more yourself, right? So any questions for us or for Marley before we move to our little practice? Yeah, I got it. Thank you. And tell us your name.
Hi, I'm Nati.
Hi, Nati.
Thank you so much for doing this, putting this all together, for being here, Marley. I am coming from Kumaye territory, which is not too far, just a couple hours down south, also known as San Diego. And I attended a meditation a couple months ago where the teacher was, in our meditation, they guided us through this concept of to dream is to see a future that we are creating. And I hear this mentioning of joy and how we tap into this, and I think this comes, I believe it comes from tapping into our creativity and our curiosity. And so my question is, how do you, both of you, tap into your inner creator or your inner curiosity?
Yeah. Do you want to?
I'm like, who goes first?
You can.
When I hear that question, all I can hear is my father. And he is a very big dreamer. And so I was raised on the old, well, I know it's an old adage, but on his words of dream big, and once you've dreamt big, dream bigger than that. And so when I think of something that I want to do in life, I automatically think, okay, what else? Who else? Where else? You know? And then I think the second part of that dreaming big, because fear is real. And I go through my fears every day. I mean, it's really something that I have to let come and go. But the way that I face fear is just by taking small steps. I have a dream right now of doing a docuseries. I really want to do a docuseries. And so my small step was to interview a friend. You know what I mean? So then that way we're still putting the energy forward. You're connecting with people around you that you love and trust to bring it to life. But that's how I approach dreams. And when it feels too big, start small. Yeah.
I love that. Thank you. Yeah. And Nati, is that right? Yeah. Thank you for your question, Nati. I often say the alternative to cultural appropriation, right, or harm is creativity, right? Instead of going and taking from someone else, from another culture, from, how can I tap into what's inherently there? And there's a way that, okay, so just being really real, right? I can feel contractive or small, or like compare myself to someone else, or like see a friend that has a cute outfit and want that outfit for myself, right? Or see something that a friend or a colleague gets, right? Like a position or an opportunity, and I can want that, and I can feel like what I notice in myself is like a tunnel vision of I want. But when I can, instead of contracting, so if you remember in your body, that like contraction to expansion, it's like there's enough for us all.
Amen.
There is enough for us all. Yeah. As a teacher, at this point, I've trained in free stuff, like, I don't even know. 25,000, 30,000, who even know? I don't know. In terms of teacher trainings, it's a lot of people. 2,500 folks have gone through a teacher training. Yeah. Do you know what I want for every single one of those people? For them to go far further than I could ever go. And do I believe that it's going to happen, that it's completely possible? Absolutely, right? So
that's beautiful.
Yeah, there's like the creativity that comes from, I don't know, it's like feeling each person's essence and the way that they uniquely express it, and or each being, right? It's a plant. It could be a moment. It could be a way that someone even says a phrase or a poem, right? Like, there's so much expansiveness in attuning to the creativity that's possible. Yeah. And then curiosity, I want to talk about that for a second, because how many people here and online you can think about, you know, a relationship, not like a really edgy, like difficult one, but like someone you've known a long time. Like if you think of, like I'm going to think of my kiddo, if that's all right with you. Is that cool? They're here supporting. Thank you. And so as a parent, there can be a lot of attachment, right, to like what I think or what I think is right or who that person should be. But instead, if I can almost like clear my sight, clear the vision, and just like sit back curious, who are you? Who are you now? Who are you becoming? Not who I think you should be, but who are you truly? And what a blessing to get to steward in some way, right, or support a soul on their evolution and their growth, again, beyond what I will ever be able to imagine or know. And so curiosity is a deep practice for me. It's one that I try to apply to my friends, some of whom who are here, who I've known for like decades, right? Like not who you used to be, but who are you now? And so if you can bring that forward for anyone in your life or yourself, right? Like we put ourselves in boxes too.
If I can just add to that too, is nature is always, sometimes, because you were talking about that constriction, and I feel that a lot sometimes in LA especially, or really just in cities, because I think that the metric of inspiration and success is based off of what somebody else has done. But it's like the metric of success in nature is based off of what God has done. And so when I'm in nature, it's like I'm able to look at the creativity reflected back to me. And I'm like, I am that, it's so hum, you know, I am that, and that is me. So yeah, that constriction made me think of that, because when I'm in nature, it's like, it's expansive.
So expansive.
Anything is possible. Yeah.
Thank you again.
Oh, thank you.
Marley.
Thank you.
What a joy.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you all. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here. Okay, everyone, we're at the final kind of rolling down of this arc. And I want to invite us to do a little practice, seated, standing, whatever supports you. And for this practice, we're going to move our hands again. So if you'd like to bring your hands together and let your fingers touch, so your hands are together in front of you, and you can release one hand down and just watch your pointer finger and inhale, gazing at your finger, watching that drishti, right? Expanding the field of your awareness. And we'll just take a couple circles on one side, inviting in deep breath, softening your jaw, softening your gaze, softening your eyes. And when you complete that circle, bringing your fingers to touch, and just gently giving yourself a moment before we do the other side. So inhale, letting your arms circle around. And as you circle, maybe imagining that web and spiral of interconnection, of joy and community. Bringing in anyone you want to bring in. And on your last circle, bringing your hands together. And if you'd like, lifting them up towards the sky. Inhale. And exhale, folding forward, a gentle bend, any amount towards the earth. really in humility, folding forward, releasing. And in this space, if there's anything that you'd like to let go, exhaling, breathing it out. Inhale once more, coming up towards the sky. Feeling any truths or insights or ahas that are in you from our time together. Expanding, taking up as much space as you can. And then exhale, arms come down. And we'll take a gentle practice so you can find an easeful way to be. And deep breath in, full breath out. How is yoga as unity moving through me? In this moment, what does my path and my practice look like? What is that one small step that I can take in the direction of my own self-knowing, healing, growth, liberation? Am I in a space and a time where I want to be surrounded by community that lifts me up as I find my place and my path? And feeling into the way that you live and explore and express yoga in the ways that only you can. Deep breath in and a full breath out. And slowly blinking your eyes open, taking in form and color, shape, looking around, maybe a gentle movement, swaying. And so as we come to a close, I want to remind us of the story, and I won't go into the whole story, but of Krishna and Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita. And in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is like the inner wise self. We all have them, right? We all have that inner wise knower. And Arjuna is like the inner doubter. And so the story of yoga can be described also as the tension, the dance, the play of doubt and trust. And so as you move into, okay, what can I do to trust a little bit more? How can my small s self, like the little me, connect with the big s self, all that is? And so feeling, just taking a moment to anchor into what is my next step? How can I move forward on my path? And to this intention, we can bow. And we'll close our practice with a Shanti mantra, just as we opened. And I want to invite you to feel, and I say this in every teacher training, right? Every learning container, you are enough just as you are. You are doing enough. You are expressing fully, completely enough. And this itself is part of the decolonization. So feeling any amount of wholeness, completeness. And we'll close with a chant that invites in uplift and well wishes for ourselves. But because yoga is a practice for ourselves and all living beings, also for all beings. And deep breath in And a full breath out. Inhale with Om to begin. Lokaha samastaha sukhino bhavantu. Deep gratitude to all of our teachers, the roots and the heart of yoga as it moves through each of us. Thank you so much for your presence. Thank you so much for your practice and for being here. And I'd love to invite you to take this out, to share, to express the way that yoga is moving through you. And if you're interested in being part of a community, a learning community, to explore the depth and the heart of yoga's roots for this moment, one that doesn't shy away from all the conversations that we've been having, then maybe you want to explore going deeper in yoga with the teacher trainings that I run. The 300-hour is coming up in June. Every year we run a 200-hour and a 300-hour. And I'm also a curious creative exploration. Part of my PhD journey in yoga psychology is creating a yoga therapy program. And so that's, yoga therapy that doesn't dismiss all of the harm in the world and that welcomes in like activists and organizers, right? The people who are in the trainings we're on the streets, we're in the artists' drawing rooms, we're in the healing spaces, and we need us. We need all of us. So thank you again for being here. I can't express how deeply and how much it means to me that you care about honoring the roots of yoga and living them in the ways that you do. Thank you again to each of you. And as we close, maybe do a little wiggle, a little dance, little little shimmy, and I'd love for you to share what you're taking away. We have a couple minutes if anyone wants to share out loud, like, what are you taking away? Maybe one word, what you're unlearning, what you're learning. It doesn't have to be long. Would anyone like to share online or in the space? It's always so nice to hear from community. Yeah, you can shout it out. Validated. Any other words? Empowered.
Vulnerability.
Yeah.
Unlearning perfectionism to feel good enough.
Unlearning perfectionism to feel good enough. Yeah.
The value of showing up.
The value of showing up. Yeah. Yeah.
Finding the juicy bits of life.
Yes, finding the juicy bits of life. I'll repeat what's being shared in the room, and I know there'll be folks online. And I see like love, right? Like heart, deep connection. Yeah. Thank you again to each of you, to all of you. And we can bow if you would like, or in whatever your way is, just honor yourself, honor all that brought you here and all of the beings that you'll impact and touch by connecting with this practice. Thank you so much. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shakti Shakti Shakti. Peace, peace, peace. And power, power, power. Thank you. Ta-da!